I'm Meaghan Chitwood, and welcome back to From Overlooked to Consistently Booked, where we have real conversations with real professionals. We're talking about the customer journey with my sister, Dr. Eleanor Murray of Madison Gynecology and Wellness. Today, we want to talk about the designing of the customer journey, in your case, the patient journey, and what that ultimately looks like. When somebody walks into the room, it's everything. Every single thing makes them feel welcome. It's, do I know I'm in the right place with the signage at the door? Or signage outside at the door, walk in, all of that creates a feeling. So yeah, how do you help create a feeling for them when they walk through the door?
So I definitely wanted welcoming staff, but I also wanted some comfortable chairs in case we get behind. I like music over a TV blaring because I like that better at my house. So I figured it would be nice in our waiting room. I wanted water and some resources of hydration if it was taking us a while so that the wait didn't seem frustrating.
It is funny at how comfortable the chairs are instead of your normal plastic ones that have the metal, the metal on it. So walk us through the entire process a patient would go through and what details you thought of as you went.
So, of course, they come in and they wait for their appointment. I wanted to make sure their histories were thorough, but I didn't want to put too many paperwork situations in front of them. So they had to write their name 7 times. So I tried to go digital. And I like to save trees. So it was dual purpose there. However, it's frustrating to some people that don't love technology. But I feel like it was a little more efficient, and efficiency, I think, matters now. I tried to, definitely make sure there were just calming songs, kind of a woman playlist, if you will. Hopefully they're called quickly for their appointment after they've checked in. And then that's important to me because we ask very personal questions in gynecology, such as how many partners in the last year. I'm going to embarrass you once. I need to know how many partners in the last year, and I will see that and then guide you from there. We don't have to talk about things that could make you uncomfortable after that, but I need those information points in the chart. I also ask anyone if they want STD testing at that level so that it's not something they would assume I've noticed or I'm listening in and assuming things. So every patient gets certain questions asked at that step so that it doesn't increase anxiety, but just so they can also have anything they need done without having to ask if it makes them uncomfortable.
You have said to me before that you kind of treat your work as being a detective. And so having like bits of information that you can glean from to know how to take care of them best. And so that set of questions really is critical to you having sort of pieces that can ultimately happen for you to feel better.
So the MA has to make it a very welcoming, non-judgmental place for these questions that I have them ask. And I use them to guide the visit, but of course I have the limited time frame. They have a little more time than me. So I try and gather the information, ask questions they might want to say yes to, but not give an explanation. I feel like they feel obligated to give me an explanation with certain questions. So I wanted to make sure that medical assistants were comfortable and made sure my patient felt not judged at all, but that we're on their team and just want to make sure we take care of them. So that's important. And finding, staff that can do that can be challenging at times. But I feel like we've definitely, thanks to you helping me hire, we found a team of people who really, I feel like, make it, very just, this is, these are our questions and there's no judgment. And then hopefully they're in the room soon thereafter. And then I come in and use some of that to guide the visit and or their problems, but make sure that even though we're not pushing things on them, but we're also making sure that they can get things from us that might be awkward to ask for.
Yeah. One of the other details I think is really important because I've been in doctor's offices where I'm worked up practically in public. I'm in the hallway, right? And everyone can hear everything. With you have doors and everybody asks, would you like to close the door?
Very important at my visit, I feel like.
Does it kind of help them call out some of the embarrassing things in advance with the MA so that you can jump right into it?
So I guess my perspective is, when I have this much time, how do I make sure my questions and where I take the visit doesn't increase anxiety or insecurities or judgment? So since I have this much time, my questions help me understand potentially where they're coming from, and then I can take it from there, make sure they're taken care of, but also stay on schedule best I can. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes when marriages aren't going great, you think to yourself, maybe I should get a little STD testing. Now, do I feel like I'm exposed to one? No. But do I want to disclose that sometimes my marriage goes up and down? No. But
Right.
would that make me feel better potentially because of something in my mind? Yes. And I want that to be able to happen without all of the stress involved.
Yeah. That's amazing, thinking through just how does that other person feel all the way through. So one of the comments that people often make about you is that they definitely feel listened to and heard. And how do you guide your nurse practitioners to be able to create that same environment for their patients?
Listen, let them talk. Have follow-up questions, obviously, but let them talk. The medical field has a lot of descriptions of disease that when patients say certain things, we're going in a totally different direction than what they mean.
Say more about that.
So a patient came to me leaking. That to me is always urine. So I am focused on the urinary tract. I am focused on stress incontinence. I'm focused on urgent incontinence. And in fact, she was leaking vaginal discharge. It took me a solid 12 minutes to get to the right leaking. And so I think that is the problem, is we hear things and then we go in our direction because that's, how it's written in our journal articles or it's how we see it all the time. But if you would sit and listen and let them describe the whole thing before you have a follow-up question, you often can save yourself 12 minutes and actually be in the organ system that you belong in, because not everyone understands our medical lingo. And so it takes us in directions we probably shouldn't be going unless we let the patient finish, start to finish.
And it's interesting, having been around the practice, to, you've talked about the limited amount of time that you have with them. It's really interesting because you can't really afford to you can't afford to go the wrong direction because the patient ends up getting treated for something that's not right. But you also can't afford to go in the wrong direction because then wait times become a challenge as well.
Which happens, actually. My biggest weakness would be when I'm not on the same page, I will get there, by gosh, and it might just take me a really long time. And then we have a wait time. But the patient that I took care of was taken care of better because of the time I spent.
And you've got a great way of, I'm going to call it, putting patients who complain about time in their place. How do you kind of put patients in their place when they're complaining about wait times?
Well, I walk in the room and I can tell that's the frustration. And I say, I am very sorry. I have a timer now on this iPad. I know how long you've been in here, but what I can promise you is I won't leave this room until you're well taken care of either.
Yeah.
And then I do follow that up with, I'm not a fit for everyone, but that is how I practice.
Yeah. I think you have nailed that on this is who I am. And you like me, great. You don't like me, great.
Took a long time because I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
But I've realized that's what I have to say, or people won't understand what they're going to get from me.
Yeah. I remember a 1-star review that you got. And obviously when a 1-star review happens to a people pleaser, it's like the worst thing ever. And my response was, "Oh, I've been waiting for this. I didn't know how to proactively respond or tell people how you are, but now we've got this response to this review." And it was, "I'm not a fit for everybody. If it's not FDA approved." So, there's a certain standard that you go by.
Absolutely. First, do no harm.
Yeah. And so, ultimately it was a great opportunity to be like, can we just point to that so people know exactly what they're getting into when they're coming to your practice? Yeah. This has been great around talking about how to design a customer journey for your patients, and others can glean off of that for their customers. And this does apply to all businesses. Listen to people and ask questions. Vocabulary matters. What are they actually saying to us is a great lesson from this as well, because we all have a different vocabulary. Thanks for tuning in this week to From Overlooked to Consistently Booked. Next week, we are talking about building a personal brand. And if you like conversations like these, please like and subscribe to the channel and drop us a comment below on something you would like us to dig into.